Cowboys and Cowgirls. It's Regan, aka Wannabe Cowboy, here in collaboration with Live in the Living Room. And I am joined by a very, very, very talented young lady, Halle Kearns. Halle, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me back. It's been a
How,
while.
how have you been since we last spoke?
Good. I mean, it's been a couple years now, right? It's
Yeah, I'll
been a
say
whirlwind.
careers. It's gonna say it's a nice, change because your career, let's just say, it's stepped up a notch since we last spoke to you. For those that are joining new to the Live in the Living Room pages and checking this out for the first time, just tell us a little bit about who Halle Kearns is.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm an artist from Columbia, Missouri, originally over here in the States. I grew up just loving 90s country, and that was kind of all I listened to growing up. So whenever I started writing songs around like 12, 13 years old, that's just what naturally was coming out was a lot of country music and then kind of top 40 pop blended with that. And then since then, it's just kind of become this kind of storytelly, dreamy, ethereal sounding country music is kind of the way I like to wrap it all up and
Just in a
stay busy
nutshell.
since.
Yeah,
Yes.
easiest way to put it all out there. So
Yes,
yeah,
yeah,
because I know you taught yourself to play guitar, didn't you?
I did.
Like,
Yeah,
what
on
made
YouTube.
yeah, what made you? I mean, YouTube's a great place. That's where you'll find this
Mhm.
episode of Live in the Living Room.
Yep.
What made you choose country music then? Was it a case of, grandparents and, family listened to it and you kind of fell
Yeah.
in, or was it something you discovered on your own?
Honestly, a little bit of all of that. I grew up on it because that's what my parents listened to, but they listened to a lot of different music. But 90s country was just the thing when I was growing up and early 2000s, that all that kind of stuff. So it's what when I started writing music, it just kind of naturally came out in the form of country because that's what I knew. And it wasn't ever like I made a choice to be like, I'm going to be a country artist. It was just I'm going to be an artist. I'm going to be a singer, and that's kind of what the genre I fell into was.
Fell into it and you sing
Yeah.
so well.
Yeah, it's in me.
But obviously, I want to know, like, for the people that don't know, so you moved to Nashville in 2019. That,
Did.
that
Oh my
must have
gosh.
been
Yeah.
but just before COVID. That must have been,
Yeah.
a hell of a change for you. And how was it during that COVID time? Because no one could really do anything, obviously, out in Nashville. Was it a case of had a lot of time to yourself and you just had lists and lists of songs that you'd written?
You know what's funny is I've never really thought about it from this perspective, but I feel like the personal and professional side were so opposite of one another. I think the personal side, it was really, really hard for a million reasons we could all get into and stuff, but it made me slow down a lot, um, personally. But then the professional side of things, it picked up quicker than ever. I waited and delayed my first release because I was thinking we're in a pandemic. I don't need to release anything yet. Like let's just wait till it's over. Joke's on me. It wasn't over forever. So when we hit around May, I was like, I think it's time. I think this needs to see the light of day. So we ended up releasing July of 2020 was my first single that ever came out. It's like,
Yeah, I was going to say.
okay, what better time to give people some music?
And then obviously after that, you released your first EP finally.
Yes, in
So
December.
literally, end of the year, was that a case of kind of little play? I like the little play on words, like, because, towards the end of 2020, COVID eased up and it's like, finally, you can get out.
Yes.
But it's full of great tracks. Again, if you haven't checked out
Thank
Halle
you.
music, head over to Spotify. I'm sure you'll find a pretty easy. Her songs are just full of storytelling and heartfelt words. I've listened to music a few times. A lot of your tracks, I can tell that you put a lot of effort and a lot of heart into your songs, and it's
Thank
you
you.
know the creative side. Is it a case of you do all the writing yourself, or do you have, do you work with a team? I just, the creative mindset is what I know. Like, where does that come to you? Naturally.
Absolutely. I mean, I love collaborating. I love co-writing. That's one of my favorite parts of all this. It's like really a 50-50 split between performing and doing the artistry thing and then just the songwriting and the heart and all of that. But I love being the one to get to tell my stories. So, I think that collaborating is one of the coolest parts of, especially being in Nashville, but I know there's a lot of great communities like in your area too with opportunities to collaborate. It's just taking your mind and the way you see the world and the experiences you've been through and then someone else's and how those counteract one another, how they complement. It's really, really cool. It helps you tell a more 360 picture of a story, I think.
Oh yeah, fully. Like in the word of artists, you get to collaborate with
Yeah.
some great musicians, but it does
Yeah.
kind of relate to us over here on the media side. Not a lot of people think, they just think we talk to these artists and that's it. But there's a lot of
Yeah.
process that goes into this. A lot of back and forth, and we get these great opportunities to sit down with people like yourself. But just while we're on the subject of your music, your latest single, "Wish You Gone."
Yeah.
Tell me the thought process behind that. If you haven't listened to it, go check it out. It's really good.
Thank you so much. It's funny you mentioned that one actually. such a good example of kind of that collaborative, different perspective, thought processes. My co-writer Jess brought in this idea. We went into a session, which just me and two other writers sat down, her and a guy named Willie Breeding, and she was talking about she just fresh off a breakup, right? She just got they broke up. It was a really, really catastrophic kind of situation, and she was just kind of divulging all this information, and I was like, girl, I've been exactly where you've been. I know exactly the type of guy you're talking about. And we were able to just write this song that she was freshly walking through and like hurting while we're talking about these topics. And I'm on the other side of it now. So I'm bringing in that perspective of knowing where the healing's going to take you, but also like reflecting on the heartache that it once was. So it was really cool. It just felt like this really magical day where you take these different people's experiences, but all something there's a through line that we all bonded over. And yeah, it was kind of just fell out of us, and we wrote a song about really crappy exes.
Like I say, it sounds like you just had that instant connection, which again is great
Yeah.
because the
Mhm.
chemistry's there, and in the music it's going to flow really well. But
Yeah.
obviously, we know you're a bit of a workhorse. It's like 300 shows under your belt already, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But obviously this year, sorry, last year. Wow, was it last? Yeah, last year was at C2C. My brain is
Yes.
just like flying everywhere because
Totally.
I still think that last year's C2C was this year's, but it was only in March.
That's the confusing thing. I'm
Yeah,
like, oh, I was there in March, but not this last March. I guess that
yeah,
was over a year ago, but
that's
it
what I
feels
mean.
like
So
barely. Oh, yeah.
obviously, your song debut in Homemade Margaritas on that stage, for a UK crowd, I'm excited for you when you come over. So for people that don't know, Halle will be at the Long Road Festival in August Bank Holiday. Um, I've got a feeling that the country scene has grown in the UK since you've last come over, and I can't wait for you to come and see it because it's just skyrocketed. We've got more events than ever, that kind of aspect. But I want to know, obviously, what are you most excited about coming back over to the UK? Obviously, taking part in Long Road, but is there stuff
Yeah.
that you didn't get a chance to do when you came over for C2C that you want to do? Because obviously we'd love the opportunity again to catch up at the Long Road and see if you manage to complete any of these tasks or goals that will set you,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
trying
Yes.
over in the UK. So is there anything that's top priority on your list apart from
You
bringing
know,
up the show?
I the second I land, the next day, we go into six straight shows. So I have four shows and then two at Long Road. So it's just going to be every single day we're traveling to a new city and playing to a new crowd. But that's honestly the thing I'm most excited for is just like getting back in front of UK audiences because they are unreal. I mean, I'm sure y'all hear it all the time, but like it's a crowd like I haven't experienced before. So you saying that it got even bigger and more like exuberant or whatever, that blows my mind because you already were that in my brain. So
Yeah,
that's what I'm most excited for. I only got to see London while I was over there, so I'm very excited to see other parts of England as well.
bit of the British countryside, that's for sure.
Yes.
But no,
I've gone to Newcastle and I've heard the accent is like
well, when you go to Newcastle, if you didn't have one when you were back over here, I think every American, I don't know if you eat meat or that kind of thing, but sausage rolls. Make sure
sausage rolls.
make sure you get a Greg's sausage rolls because when you go to Newcastle, there's one on pretty much every corner.
Say less. Honestly, sign me. I was just like a hot dog situation in America. Like it's like a daddy's dog in Nashville.
Yeah, but trust me, like they'll change your mind. Because
Sweet. I'm in.
we speak to a lot of American artists on this show, and it's a
Mhm.
case of they want to try, they can't comprehend beans on toast and stuff like that, and but
Yep.
when they come over here and they just love our dairy milk chocolate and stuff like that. Uh,
Yeah.
I had the pleasure of meeting, you might know, Brandon Davis. Um,
Yes.
so he was over here Sunday just gone, and he was like, "Wow, the Fanta taste difference. Fish and chips is amazing. It's all just the
Fish and
mind
chips are
blown."
great.
Yeah,
Yes. I really want to do like a proper tea as well. I haven't done that, and I know that may be a little more like I don't know. I didn't really have any.
no, that's
While
what I say. When make sure then when you're over here that you have your band members or your assistant, make sure they get you a proper British cup of tea.
I'm saying.
And
We're-
when I see you at Long Road, I will be there. Like, have you had your cup of tea yet?
You're gonna have one waiting for me, and we're just gonna have to have a little toast.
I'll keep it in mind. I'll bring a little flask of tea. But no,
Service.
obviously we can't wait to see you at Long Road. I'm sure, like I say, you've got a few, like you say, you've got shows back to back to back. But I think you
Hmm.
might be surprised that when you come back over of how many more people know your songs, and like you say,
Oh,
a lot of Americans can't cope in the sense of British crowds because you see images online and videos of the crowds just standing there and along, but we're a bit mental, I think, when it comes to music, and especially
Perfect.
as I mentioned, with country music growing, you're going to see plenty more hats, plenty more boots. It's what it's all about. The
That's what
attire.
I'm talking about.
But anything you're most excited for about Long Road? Is it performing, or is it just enjoying the festival UK festival scene?
I love performing, but even more than being on stage, I love getting to meet with people after and like hear their stories and like just meet people and become friends. Like that's the best part of anything that I get to do. But also like hearing the songs, especially for people who've never heard them before or maybe heard them in a new way that day. I just love hearing the stories and how they connect to their own personal lives. So I'm just like stoked to get to hug on some people afterwards.
Well, yeah, I'll say, that's what we love about these events, is it's not only the networking side, but it's getting to meet like-minded people that have been through the same
Yeah.
stuff you have. And I'm sure
Yeah.
a lot of people will tell you that that your music has helped them get through hard times. And, as an artist, that must be the internal feeling is just, I mean, I understand, I understand what it feels like, but for
Yeah.
yourself, it must be so much, not relief, but happiness that you're able to help, people outside of the States.
Yeah, that's the most rewarding feeling that I get to have as an artist for sure.
But no, like I said, obviously I've got to give a big shout out to Pete. Obviously, he
Okay.
sorted all this out, an opportunity to talk
No.
to you today. So, if you can badger him to make sure we get time at Long Road to chat to
Yes.
you,
Easy.
that would be great. Because I'll make sure I've got a flask of tea at least. Because as I said, I'll bring it.
I'll
Uh,
ask him something. Yeah, for sure.
but no, then that leads me on to my last question. Then, Hallie,
Yeah.
obviously we all know you can't spell country without try. So, Halle Kearns, where are you trying to get to in country music?
Oh man. Of course, the Grand Ole Opry. I haven't played my Opry debut yet, and that is probably top of the list. I want to play Red Rocks really, really bad. I want music to take me to Australia. I haven't been there yet. Um,
It's hot.
I want to play the O2 eventually. I think that would be
I'm
unreal,
sure.
especially
I'm
starting off
sure.
on the smaller
Yeah,
stages.
I'm sure. We'll get people in the comments. If you tag country to country, no matter what platform you're on, let's get this lady back. She was here 2 years ago. Now, well, yeah, nearly 2 years ago. So let's get her back on this stage. But hopefully, we can get you on a bigger stage. Um, but Halle, now's your chance. If you've got any shout outs you want to do to people, shout at your social medias. This next 2 minutes, it's all you.
Awesome. Yeah, you can find all my social stuff, hallekearns.com, or any of my social media, music, everything is just under my name, Halle Kearns. Thank you to Pete, my manager, for setting this up and just being the best ever. And yeah, I'm so excited, guys. Can't wait to see you in the UK.
No, well, we look forward to seeing you, and again, look forward to catching up at Long Road. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for today's episode of Live at the Living Room. I've been Regan, aka Wannabe Cowboy, joined by the lovely Halle Kearns. And until the next one, we'll see you later. Thank you very much.